What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Today is something a little different. I did a live stream on Tuesday night. I had multiple different guests on: Flipping Steve, Kenny Fornos, and Justin from Spidey Drew '09, all fellow YouTube content creators. It was me, Steve, and Justin early on, and then Kenny hopped on later. And I know not everyone sits down and watches the full 2.5 hour long live stream. So what I've done is I pulled out a clip specifically talking about some accusations regarding alt and potentially manipulating the market on the Marvel card side of things, specifically PMGs. The first part of this is a clip of me, Steve, and Justin kind of talking through this. And then the last little bit is when Kenny popped on later in the live stream, him giving his thoughts on it and us kind of wrapping up and speaking about it again. So for anyone that missed the live stream, maybe this will be helpful for you, or you're just coming across this for the first time. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz down below. Let's go ahead and cut over to the clip from the live stream. I dropped the ball on that one. I've got a couple questions about this, so let's go ahead and I'll open this up and then we'll just kind of see where it goes. The card porn post today on Marvel cards. So I'm going to preface this by I have done a fraction of the research I probably need to on this to talk about it at the level that they are. But essentially what was said, or it seems to be said, is that it was implied that alt as a company is manipulating the Marvel card market. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't 100% know. I don't know that anyone really 100% knows for sure. Someone knows for sure. To me, it seems more like people are using the alt. People purchased cards on eBay, sent them to alt, and then listed them to resale. And then there is some suspicious bidding activity on some Marvel PMG sales where it looks like the same two accounts are duking it out for Marvel PMGs. But like I said, I have not spent a ton of time in this. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say it's alt specifically doing it because I don't know that we know that. And I don't know that I will ever know that. I've been presented with some information and evidence that that person believes that they are, exquisite, right? Exquisite collectibles.
Eccentric collectibles.
Sorry. I knew there was an E and a collectible in there. We were chatting back and forth on some stuff, and he has some interesting information, that is for sure. I just don't know that I am ready to make the leap that it's alt themselves buying the stuff. This just seems like a classic case of what we see a lot in this stuff. Did someone probably do something shady to potentially manipulate a market? Maybe, probably. Mm-hmm. Was it alt themselves as a company? I personally don't think so, but I could be wrong. But I think it was someone that was using an alt vault and maybe potentially buying under whether it's a group of people or an individual person that just didn't want to release their real name, purchasing this stuff and then having it sent alt to relist. That's where I'm at with it right now. My opinion could change, but this literally came out an hour or two before we started this live stream. So it's not like I've sat here and done 5 hours worth of research on this or days worth of research on it as some people have. So that's my kind of quick take on it without deep diving into it is where I'm at with it. I mean, it's kind of like news at 11. People in a market potentially bought out part of the market to control some of the inventory. The only thing that I would really question is like card porn's kind of like basic take that alt bought every Marvel card to manipulate the market. We all know that that's not the case. That's a little hyperbolic. So that's kind of like the only real issue I kind of had with it was that. So we'll go around the horn here. I'll throw it to you first, Steve, and you're kind of probably getting this the newest. I don't know how much time you've had to actually dig into this, but just kind of the general take of like whether it's this alt thing or not, like the Marvel PMG market and, how much of it's market manipulation, how much of it's real, and does it even matter at this point because the cat's, the snowball's rolling down the hill at this point.
Yeah, and I read the post. I read some of the comments on it. I haven't been able to research it. So I can't, again, I can't go into if it's true or not, if it's alt or not, who it isn't. I can say, newsflash, shield bidding and market manipulation takes place across all cards, not just Marvel. I had a mail day. It was a little bit of everything. I got 2 Marvel cards. I got a Star Wars card. I got a movie card. I didn't get a rock and roll sticker today. I got one yesterday. And I got a basketball card. So again, I'm still looking across the board at everything, and I'm watching auctions on everything getting shilled. It's just something that happens. We have a Marvel chat going on IG, and we will see a card and we will talk amongst each other and say, what do you think that's going to end at tonight, guys? Because it's too rich for my blood and a lot of our blood, and we're just curious, man. I wonder what that card is going to end at. I know I'm not going to be able to buy it. And at the end of some of these auctions, not many, but occasionally I have I have put this kind of looks shady. Look at some of the bidders on this. Um, but with that being said, that's one in quite a few. You'll see like 10 really high sales go off, and you'll see maybe one or two that look suspicious where you got zero feedback bidders maybe running them up. But close your eyes or don't look at the description of the card, and you wouldn't know what you were bidding on, because that happens on all cards. And anybody who say that doesn't happen in the baseball market, the basketball card market, they're wrong. Everybody has complained about it one time or another, whether they're talking about Probstein or talking about not ComC, but another auction house, PWCC. It was booted off eBay for it. So again, it just exists. And now there's more focus going into the Marvel card market, so it's going to exist just like it exists in everything else. Unfortunately, that may not have been the case prior, because Marvel cards weren't seeing the popularity that they're seeing now. But with that popularity is going to come some of the bad parts of what goes on in all of the trading card market.
Well, if you don't mind, yeah. So I'm gonna give a pretty full answer here, because I really think this needs to be addressed. So if you go back to 1996 is when Marvel went bankrupt and local comic book shops, cards, coins, and collectibles they shuttered and closed all across America, right? So Marvel cards at that point went dormant. It wasn't available to the masses. From 96 really until recently, Marvel cards has just been available to a select few who knew where to look, when to look, and how to collect it. That's it. During that time, from 96, enters Pokemon. Pokemon then fills the void that Marvel cards and Marvel going bankrupt left in that space. And Pokemon's flourished, it's doing great, wonderful, right? And so through that time period, Marvel is not being developed and growing really like it should. And so then enter, what is it, October, November of 2020, 9EMU starts to take off. That catches people's attention, including Neo here on this channel, made some great videos about it. And it reawoken people to the fact that Marvel cards, are still around and are gaining some value. And it brought back those early 90 collectors back into the hobby. It happened simultaneously while 2020 Marvel Masterpieces was being released. And it really sucked a lot of those people back into the hobby in a pretty strong way. Fast forward to May, the golden auction happens, and a green PMG Spider-Man, which people thought would sell for $9,000 to $13,000, settled at $34,000. That caught the eye and attention of non-Marvel collectors, people who didn't collect only in the 90s. We're talking about people who said, okay, what's this thing called Marvel cards? And what I'm about to tell you is stuff that you're not going to hear or read about on Instagram or whatever else. But there are people who looked at the hobby and said, okay, Marvel cards right now has a current market cap of $15 million. Meaning if you took $15 million, you could likely buy just about every Marvel card you wanted at that time. Not today, back then. And they started buying these cards. And we're talking not just one buyer, we're talking multiple buyers, okay? Because this is not something that only one person is seeing. And what they said was, what if Marvel cards had developed like it should have from 96 to today? What would that market really look like? Where would these values really be? Does Marvel cards have a market cap of 30 million, 100 million, 200 million, 500? Like, what is it? I don't know the answer, but there's a belief that there's a lot of upside to Marvel cards. So these people start buying these cards at a really high rate. A lot of them are not public sales, like the bulk of the real big, true big sales are not public. And what's ever happening on alt, what are we talking about? 100 cards? Like, if that? It's not the market at all, even close. And so, where will this hobby go? Like, where will Marvel cards from a value standpoint go? Like, I don't know what the top is. I don't have those answers. but to presume for card porn to lead with, these people from alt is like dictating the market of Marvel cards, it's just ludicrous. It's just not true.
Yeah, it just seemed like a stretch. Like, I get it. Did something shady probably go on with those cards and those sales? Yeah, potentially. Probably in some cases, absolutely. But to pin like the entire thing on that, I thought was a huge stretch based off the stuff that I'm seeing anyway. And there was a comment here I wanted to get to.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention about that post was that card porn also spun it to say this is terrible for the collectors. From whose point of view is this terrible for the collectors? Because first off, and I don't want to come off the wrong way, but the high end PMGs have been out since 2013. So if the collectors don't have theirs by now, that product's been out for 9 years. So if and they've been cheap. So if the collectors don't have theirs by now, then they didn't buy them because they didn't think they were going to have any value. Okay, in 2000, I had a Tom Brady Contenders on-card ticket auto in my hand at my LCS, and the card shop owner wanted $12 for it, and I put it back. Why did I put it back? Because it was Tom Brady. He was a backup quarterback, and I never thought it would have any value. Am I angry now that card could have, bought me a house? No, I'm not. It's just the way that it works, right? So to say that this is bad for collectors because now they can no longer buy the cards that they wanted to buy. These cards have been on the market for 9 years at affordable prices. If anything, it's good for the collectors who have been buying them when they were cheap because now they have someone that's willing to buy something off of them if they're willing to sell and actually make something out of it. I don't think anybody completely, some people collect cards for different reasons. Like I have lots of cards that I know will never be worth any money, but I collect them because I relate to them in some sort of way, whether it's a memory or an emotional thing or something. I relate to that card in a certain way. But I also have cards that I collect that I will sell for the correct price, for the right price. That makes sense. So again, I don't think anybody completely collects something thinking, this is never going to be worth anything. They may collect somebody that, that was somebody that grew up in their hometown or played for their favorite college team. And they may know that player may never be worth a lot of money from an investment standpoint. But they collect that because it's affordable and it's fun. But then they have other stuff that they collect in the hopes that it's going to go up in value. So to me, I'm thinking that if anything, this is good for some of the collectors who can move some of their inventory and maybe buy other things that they really, really want now. And I didn't like the take on this is bad for the collectors. Is that generally speaking? What percent? Whose point of view is that? I don't know.
Yeah, Sirius Shaba says in chat, it is bad for new collectors, which I get, but I don't know if a brand new collector coming into the market is immediately jumping the PMGs, even when they were at affordable prices. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know.
I was there; they were not.
Yeah, but I could see that as being like if you're a brand new person potentially looking to get into Marvel cards, whether you're looking at PMGs or not, all of a sudden you're seeing these soaring prices. Just to get a box of X-Men Metal physical is $400 or $500. New products coming out at a higher price. It's restricted quantities. You have to get it from certain people. If you want to talk about market manipulation, go look at some of the websites that pre-sell Marvel cards. That's market manipulation at its finest with what they do with the prices before release. So I could see that side of it, potentially hurting new collectors coming in. And I'm not trying to defend Alt. Alt has definitely done a lot of shady stuff in the past. I just don't necessarily know that, and I really don't know. It legitimately could be them. I don't know that it's necessarily Alt is the one doing this or a user on Alt. That was the only thing I was splitting hairs with. So I don't know.
But if you spin that around, if you spin that around 180 though, and you say, okay, we're talking about a new card. We're talking about a new collector wanting to come to the Marvel card market. Well, all sports card markets have been inflated. What if you're a new collector wanting to come to the sports card market? Why is this specified towards Marvel right now? I'm trying to talk at the collectors market in general. If you're trying to get into basketball cards right now and you want to come into and be like, oh, I got to get a Michael Jordan rookie, are you going to be able to do that? With some of these PWCC auctions and stuff that we've seen get run up really high that a lot of people thought weren't legit. And yeah, they got talked about at the time, but people got over it. They didn't harp on it. They were like, well, it's a Michael Jordan rookie. What do you expect? Well, it's a Spider-Man PMG, numbered out of 10. What do you expect? It's like there's an entry level for any collector in any sport. You just got to find it. There is not everything in Marvel is blown up.
Well, my thoughts were
it's gaining steam, but there's entry level in basketball. But people want premium stuff, and when they want premium stuff, unfortunately, these days you got to pay for it.
Well, my thoughts were specifically related to card porn, saying that they were driving the entire market. I mean, maybe they're a bad player, and I hate that. I really do. I don't know alt. I've never done anything with alt. I don't whatever. But there's just no way that that's what's driving the entire market. I mean, there is look, the reality is these cards are special. They're really cool to have in hand once you have them. They're fun to collect. They're rare, and they're characters that people love and adore, and they want to have them. And the more and more people realize that they exist, they're going to chase and hunt them. And what price they pay is the price they pay.
And just to put this out there for myself, I don't have an alt account. I've never been to. Do they have an app or is it a website? I don't know. I've never even looked in.
And they have a website.
I people have told me that I should get it to look up comps. I've never done that. I've never signed up for it. I have no use at the moment for myself for alt. Never done anything with it. So this isn't me talking and trying to defend alt. If alt's guilty, they're guilty. That if they're not, they're not. And it is what it is. I'm just talking from a general person sitting back and watching the entire market, and somebody who buys a little bit of everything. Everybody knows I buy everything. So that's just my perspective on it.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but like Cards and Comics is right here. If it was someone legitimately sitting down, or a group of people that said, because a lot of these sales, from the way I understand it anyways, initially when they were initially purchased was back in late 2021, like September, or October, November, etc. I mean, this isn't buyouts are, the Cards and Comics point. I've been watching Rudy the Magic Guy for years on YouTube. He talks about buyouts once every 3 months. Oh, here's someone tried to buy out this Legends card. You usually see it with older MTG products where someone essentially goes out, spends a bunch of money to buy every copy of that card that they can find on the open market to jump the price 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% in some cases, and then slowly sell down their inventory into the new floor. And on a PMG market, if you had a lot of money in the foresight, you could probably do that because it is a limited number of cards. They're numbered. A lot of them are off the market in collections. So, I mean, if someone come out with evidence that said this is absolutely what happened here, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised by that because it happins all the time, even outside of collectible markets. It happens in business every single day.
I mean,
Microsoft just bought Blizzard. Sony just bought Bungie. This stuff happens in the business world and in the collectible markets. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? It just depends on your perspective, I guess.
Well, I literally watch Fibonacci levels every day. It's floors and ceilings. You're trying to decide, is the current ceiling the next floor? Or is the current floor the next ceiling? Like, that's literally what we're doing every single day. And right now, Marvel cards, it had a really low ceiling, right? And people realize that the floor should be way up higher. And there are some people who saw it first because they had a lot more experience in other collectible assets, so to speak. And they've taken a significant position in the hobby, in Marvel cards. And so, yeah, a new floor is being set. Is it sustainable? I don't know. I think it depends on the growth of the hobby, personally.
Yeah, Jordan. I think Jordan pretty much caps this here with any time that involves money that isn't regulated, shady shit will happen, and that is 100% the truth. Go ahead.
I actually just saw that post and I commented on it because I was honestly infuriated with that post.
We talked about it earlier at length, but you can go if you got something, go for it. Let it, as Elsa says, let it go.
So, okay, based on what I looked at all the photos, I checked the guy's profile as well. The bidder was different every auction. So I was confused. Did they have proof that somebody who specifically works for Alt actually bought that card? Because that's like saying I bought the card and I just shipped it to my Alt vault, and now I want 3 times the value.
So the way I understand it is that he got confirmation from the sellers that they went to an alt vault, all of them, to the same pseudonym name.
Okay.
So it was, it looked, according to the information, and once again, I want to preface this by, I looked at this for like 35 minutes, so I could be missing a lot. The way I understand it is there was multiple eBay accounts buying, but they were all shipping to alt, all under the same, he said it was a pseudonym name, so I assume it was some sort of fake name. So that's the thing that's linking it together. My take on it is it's not alt doing it, it's an alt user or a user on the alt platform. It's not alt the company taking company funds to go buy PMGs and then sell them at a profit on alt. I don't personally, I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's more someone on the alt platform is maybe potentially doing some shady stuff on eBay auctions and then sending them to alt and selling them, flipping them over there.
But have any of them sold on alt? That's the thing, because you can list it on alt for a set price.
I think they were selling them at liquid auctions, and I'm not super familiar with their platform because I've never bought and sold on there. I don't know if there's a way to go back and look at like sold history on alt liquid auctions. I don't think it was bins. I think it was liquid auctions.
What you would have to do, so I can check them later. I'd have to look at the cards, but I can look to see if they were sold on liquid auctions. The thing is, that's like saying, okay, I bought this crazy deal on an alt liquid auction for one hell of a steal, and then I immediately took that scan because it's now in my alt vault, ran it on eBay auction for 7 days, and now it goes for double. That's kind of what I mean. There's so many deals on alt liquid auction. I don't think people have actually seen. There's crazy deals on their liquid auction.
The biggest issues, the one issue I had with it, and the one thing that maybe there is something definitely legitimately there is the issue I had with it is them basically saying like alt 100% manipulated. I think that the quote that was in there was alt bought out all the Marvel cards on eBay, which we all obviously all know that that's just not true. Was what card porn had in there. And once again, I know alt's not like the cleanliness of things, so I don't want to sit here being the alt defender. They definitely have some stink on them about some other stuff that they've done in the past. On the eBay side of things, it does look like, based off his screenshots, that the same two accounts were bidding up a lot of PMGs. So there might be something legitimately going on there where it's like these two, maybe, and it could be 100% legitimate. Maybe it's just these two deep pocket guys or girls really want PMGs and they're just going at everyone that's on there. Or it could be potentially that maybe, you know, these two guys are going back and forth in like a buyout situation, trying to drive prices up. I wouldn't be surprised by either one, to be quite honest with you. We've all been in this game long enough to know that shady shit happens when it comes to the collectibles market, whether it's cards, comics, Marvel cards, you know, whatever, Pokemon stuff. It doesn't make a difference. It's an unregulated market. People are going to do shenanigans when money's involved. So I guess my really base level take is where there's smoke, there's fire, you know? So is something weird maybe going on? Yes. I don't necessarily think it's exactly what they laid out in that post, but I didn't sit there and spend a bunch of time, you know what I mean? Like laying out the whole thing for it. So there could be key pieces of things that I'm not seeing or missing or whatever. So that's my general take on it. And Steve, we talked about this a bunch already, so I don't necessarily need to go back to Steve for this one. But do you have anything new that you want to bring to that discussion there, Steve, before we close things out here?
I mean, it's just there might be a couple sales, but it's ridiculous to say that it's a majority of the market. I bought Marvel cards. I bought PMGs. I have nothing to do with it. You bought some. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I work for alt now. I'm just saying, you know, yeah, there's always shady sales with everything. And I've pointed out a couple in Instagram chat that I thought may be shilled because I'm all about the integrity of the market. And just because I own something doesn't mean I want there to be less integrity around the price or the market value of it. But some of the stuff just seems crazy to point a finger at one thing and say, this is the reason why.
Yeah, that was what got me. That was what I was,
you know what I mean?
Like the absolute of like, it's them, all them drove this entire market to crazy town.
Yes, that's the only thing that I literally did not just like the wording. Like, like you were saying, Neo. I mean, obviously we've seen some stuff in the past with alt. I mean, we get it. of course, there's some question marks there, but I was like, they're just pointing the finger.
I
you
have
know-
issues with the same stuff.
And we've seen vibraniums go up. We've seen masterpieces go up. We've seen the
We know why
Rittenhouse
vibraniums
go
went
up.
up. That's your fault.
But all this said, I wish I had that type. I wish I had Charles Fuchs's vibraniums, but I'm just saying there's multiple Marvel sets going up in value. It's because people are taking interest in Marvel now. It's not because a platform is running up the price on PMGs.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll wrap on that, boys and girls. Smash the like button. We're at 93. Get this bad boy over 100 before you close out the old window.